There are so many people in business that just blabber. They just go on, and you're like, man, is this story going to end? There are those people who don't think they have a unique story. They don't think that they're interesting, when in reality, it's all about how you say it. It's all about how you tell your story. And I'm going to give you the story framework that we use at JT Visuals for anything, whether this is conducting an interview, for someone to share a testimonial. This is the ultimate story guide. All my life, I've wanted to help many different people, organizations, or businesses, but I'm only one person and I can only do so much. And so I started this business, JT Visuals, and started bringing on a team. And now I'm sharing the exact framework I use to share all the stories so you can tell yours with confidence. Let's get right into it. You want to first understand why you are sharing your story at all, so it helps to label what is this for, and you would write that down there. Video or whatever event you're at. And then you would want to also know, what would be the win in telling this story? What are you hoping to get out of it? Because some people are hoping to get direct sales, direct money. They say that stories sell and facts tell. However, maybe this isn't the exact win for everybody. Usually in business, this is. Even in nonprofits, this is usually it as well. But there's so much more to it in this specific story. So you need to log what that win would be before you even begin to start a video or share a story that you're hoping to make an impact for. Because maybe that is it. Maybe you want to hear someone say, it impacted me. So there's stories of impact, there's stories that sell, and then there's stories that do both. Speaking of sharing your story, if you are interested at all of starting a podcast or being on one to generate content for your business, then I want to invite you to our sponsor of the day, which is the JT Visuals VIP guest experience. If you're in the Kansas City area, come on in person. And if you're not in the Kansas City area, then we could set up a remote version of this as well. If you're interested, we just got to do a few things, and it doesn't drive the price down. It actually should increase the price, but we're going to just give it to you at the same rate as everything else. So if you're ready to be interviewed to share your story, to see if being on camera is good for your business, then get started today. Link is in the description. When you utilize this video and you determine that this did what I thought it would do, how will you then celebrate? This part you can skip until it happens, or you can choose to do it early, because then you can share it with a team and be like, hey, we're going to celebrate that. If we make a deeper impact, we're going to get a pizza party or some other thing. You can celebrate in many different ways. It could be something as deep as writing a note and thanking someone, or sending a gift card to someone, just certain ways to celebrate and to give back. So here we go. On this outline, there are potentially 7 steps, but there's actually in blue, there's only 1, 2, 3 core steps. These are the steps that you absolutely cannot skip when you share your story. Number 1, you must establish a character with a desire. So this is when you first set up, who is the character and what do they want? You can be as obvious as saying, all my life, I've ever desired XYZ. Or you can simply say, man, I really want some ice cream. And that could be a simple story as well. And for a lot of people, this usually is a fundamental reason why you started your business. Maybe you couldn't work for another person, and so you'd rather put in a lot more to do your own thing. Or maybe you want to make a lot more money. What was the desire for the character? And then you move on to number 2 immediately. There's always a problem. There's a character with a desire, moves down to encounter a problem. What is that problem? Now, there could be several nuances to this. It could be external, it could be internal, or it could just be philosophical. It could be something that's just totally in someone's head. If this is about business, then it could be external, meaning like the customer, or external, meaning a potential client or the market or the people out there. It could be external. It could be the government. It could be part of the problem. Other businesses, some other business, a competition. That could be the external problems. Or the internal problem could be, something within yourself or something within the team. And a philosophical problem could be something more moralistic, where it's against your character or against your integrity that you should not do this. And just as an example, this could be someone who grew up in a religion that does not like dancing, but they want to start a dancing club because they really love it. And there you go. There's a philosophical problem. So you can see already how these stories can be interesting, even in the scenarios I just made up. After that character encounters a problem, you can write it down on this guide, but then it moves up to step 3, which is usually there's a guide that understands their fear or understands their problem. And then with that guide could show some empathy, or that guide has some authority in that realm. This one's not always the case, but as a business, if you're given a testimonial, usually this is when you want to bring in your business to the story. So they've already done 60% of the story because the blue, the core, the 3, that makes up 100%. The rest of it is just where you put in other details. So number 3 is technically after 60% of the story, and that's when you introduce your business. So if you're a chiropractor, you could start with a character has always wanted full range of motion, live a good life. Maybe it's a deeper thing and a little bit more personal, and they want to be able to hold their kid. They have a newborn on the way, and they can't pick up heavy objects because of something. That would be their problem. And that would be really like an external problem. But then they meet a business that's a chiropractor. And this chiropractor is talking about their story and how that they have been able to have full range of motion, even though they thought it was impossible. But after seeing a chiropractor for 3 months, 6 months, or a year, whatever the story is, that they've seen that come true. So then they want to hire that chiropractor. So that's when they bring in the story. That person gives them a plan. And this is when in the storytelling, you want to have that summary of the plan if you can. You got to know how long these videos are going to be. You can film it to be more detailed and then edit it down. That's perfectly good. It's hard to do the opposite. You want to move into what that plan looks like and how that plan was supposed to help, and frame it in that way. Don't say the results yet. We're not at the results phase. So like a lot of people usually, they meet the guide who understands their fear on step 3, and then they say, oh, and then everything was better. No, you can't rush through it that quick. That's why number 5 is the most important, and how you frame it is the most important as well. But it's the shortest one too. So it's the easiest one to miss, but it's the most important, and that's make a decision. This character now needs to make a decision. Did they hire that chiropractor, and did they get that full range of motion? Was their baby born? Was the baby healthy? And then were they able to pick up the baby? That's where it's either direct or some sort of, oh, well, they were in transition of telling the story. I like it more when it's complete, but if they can't speak in all of the results right now, they can talk about the transitional phase and how it's helped during that. But then this is the part that you don't want to just turn off the video there, even though the story is technically complete. Now you want to throw in a little bit more details about if this story resulted in success with successful results, and what did that look like? What was the picture? How much better is it? And then I like to add one more that's like, would you recommend blah, blah, blah? If someone else like you is facing this, then would you recommend that? That's my own added thing that I add to it, but it's not part of this guide. However, there is another part of a story where if the decision they make could also be a bad decision, and that bad decision could result in failure. So it's either 6 or it's 7. It could be a little both. You could swap those. Those are interchangeable. But it's a good idea to write these down. Was that tragic results? Was it something worth going back into? Does it circle back into encounters a problem over here on step 2? And then they got to move from 2 back to number 3, 4, 5, and then see where those results land. That's what goes on in the head. And you can print this thing out. You can print this framework And you can use it to pre-plan your story and then film your story. Or you can use it for clients who you know their story and you can pre-plan their story and write it down and then ask them to talk about it. And I always like to throw in, but only say it if it's true. Don't make up something just because I want you to say it. But the other thing is, if you're going in something nearly blind, you can use this guide to help draw out the right questions. You can focus on number one, and based on the questions that you ask in that interview, you should be able to draw out who is the character and what do they desire, what do they want. And you should be able to write something in this square. It is a non-negotiable. You need to establish this. It could be short, it could be really long. There are times that people can start with a problem and they can list it and they can say it in a certain way that it actually tells us who they are and what they desire. Sometimes you can do this to draw engagement and like, what are they talking about? And there's a mystery and then they reveal what it is a little bit later. For example, it could be like, I missed the first 10 shots. There I was, 3-point shots along the arc. My toe was just barely on the line. And so I missed the opportunity to get the game-winning point because of a centimeter or something like that. So within that example, though, you can tell that this person really just wanted to win a basketball game without actually saying, hey, my name's Jared, and I really want to win a basketball game. There are very creative ways that you can get into this and make this work. But the person doing the story and directing it and editing it and everything should be able to write down something on each and every blue circled square, and then hopefully all of it to tell a fantastic story. If not, you may not have a clear story. It's possible it still works, but it's not going to be the most effective because this is what every story has boiled down into in the simplest form. Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning into this video. If you like this, if you got through this, if you're excited to share your story and want to download this PDF, it's going to be in our school community, which at the time of recording this video is free. It will become a paid community to belong to later, but you can get in while we're still under 150 members. So if you want this PDF and you want to join our school community, go ahead and do that right now before it's too late and it's no longer free for you. So click the link in the description below. I hope that this guide helps you share your story and help bring customers closer to your door.